They say family always has your back, but mine had knives in theirs. I'm Margaret Thompson, born in Melbourne in 1952. Back in 2019 at 67. My daughter-in-law Sarah shattered more than just my ribs during what should have been a peaceful Sunday roast. I felt utterly betrayed. But then something happened that changed everything. Today, at 72, sitting in my cozy flat overlooking the harbor, I'm finally sharing this story because silence protects the wrong people. It started innocently enough. Marcus, my only son, had invited me for Sunday dinner at their sprawling house in Toorak. Sarah, his wife of 3 years, had always been cold toward me, but I attributed it to adjustment difficulties. She was a successful corporate lawyer used to controlling every situation, and I suppose having a mother-in-law around cramped her style. But that Sunday, something was different. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a carving knife. "Margaret, could you please not rearrange my kitchen?" Sarah's voice was sharp as I simply moved a tea towel to wipe the counter. I was trying to help with dinner preparations, something I'd done countless times before. Marcus was in the living room watching football, completely oblivious to the brewing storm. "I was just cleaning up, dear," I replied gently, not wanting to cause trouble. But Sarah's eyes flashed with something darker than annoyance. "This is my house, my kitchen, my rules," she hissed, stepping closer. "You come here every week, acting like you own the place, criticizing how I cook, how I clean, how I treat your precious son." I was stunned. I'd never criticized anything. Quite the opposite. I'd gone out of my way to be supportive. Even when she served store-bought desserts and claimed they were homemade. Even when she forgot Marcus's birthday 2 years running. "Sarah, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding." She cut me off, her voice rising. "You're a manipulative old woman who can't let go of her son. Well, here's a news flash: he chose me, not you." Marcus appeared in the doorway then, drawn by the raised voices. Instead of diffusing the situation, he simply leaned against the frame, arms crossed, watching like it was entertainment. "What's going on, ladies?" "Your mother is being her usual interfering self," Sarah announced, her face flushed with anger. "I'm sick of pretending to tolerate her presence." My heart was pounding. In 45 years of raising Marcus alone after his father died, I'd never experienced such venom from someone who was supposed to be family. "Marcus, perhaps I should go." "Oh no," Sarah interrupted, stepping between me and the door. "You're not running away this time. We're going to settle this once and for all." What happened next still haunts my dreams. Sarah grabbed my shoulders and shoved me backward with surprising force. I stumbled, my hip catching the edge of the granite kitchen island. The pain was immediate and excruciating, but worse was coming. As I tried to steady myself, Sarah pushed again. Harder this time. I fell sideways, my ribs connecting with the corner of the counter with a sickening crack. The sound echoed through the kitchen, a wet, breaking noise that made my stomach lurch. I crumpled to the floor, gasping, unable to catch my breath. The pain was unlike anything I'd ever experienced, radiating through my chest like fire. I looked up at Marcus, expecting him to rush to my aid, to demand answers, to protect his mother. Instead, he laughed. Not a nervous chuckle or an uncomfortable giggle, but a genuine, amused laugh. "Well, that's one way to shut her up," he said, and Sarah joined in, their laughter mixing into a cruel symphony above my broken body. "Marcus," I wheezed, struggling to speak through the pain. "Please help me. Maybe now you'll think twice before sticking your nose where it doesn't belong," Sarah said, standing over me with her arms crossed. She looked satisfied, like she'd finally accomplished something she'd been planning for months. I tried to sit up, but the movement sent fresh waves of agony through my torso. Something was definitely broken. I could feel it grinding inside my chest with every shallow breath. "I need a doctor." "You need to learn your place," Sarah replied coldly. "This is what happens when you overstep boundaries, Margaret. Consider it a lesson." Marcus finally moved, but not to help me. He walked to the refrigerator and pulled out a beer, popping it open casually. "She'll be fine, Sarah. Mom's tougher than she looks. Remember when she fell off that ladder last year? Barely a scratch." But this wasn't a scratch. I could taste blood in my mouth, and breathing felt like drowning in reverse. Every inhale was a struggle, every exhale a relief that came too slowly. I managed to pull myself up using the cabinet handles, my vision swimming with the effort. "I'm calling an ambulance," I gasped, reaching for my phone with trembling fingers. "No, you're not," Sarah said, snatching the device away. "You're going to go home?" Ice whatever hurts, and forget this happened. If you make trouble for us, Margaret, you'll regret it more than you already do." The threat hung in the air like smoke. I looked at my son one more time, hoping to see some flicker of the boy I'd raised, the man I'd sacrificed everything for. But his eyes were cold, distant, as if he was looking at a stranger rather than the woman who'd worked 3 jobs to put him through university. "Get out," he said quietly, "and don't come back until you can behave yourself." Somehow, I made it to my car, though the drive home was a blur of pain and tears. Every bump in the road sent fresh agony through my chest. By the time I reached my flat, I could barely stand. I spent the night on my couch, afraid to lie down, afraid to move, afraid to acknowledge how badly I was hurt. But morning brought no relief. Only the stark realization that my own family had abandoned me when I needed them most. The next morning, I could barely lift my arms to brush my teeth. Every breath felt like glass shards piercing my lungs, and the bruising across my torso had turned a sickening purple-black. I'd spent the night propped up on pillows, too afraid to lie flat, too proud to call for help. But when I coughed and saw blood speckling the tissue, I knew I couldn't pretend anymore. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, found me struggling to get my keys from my purse outside my flat. "Margaret! Dear God!" Her voice was filled with genuine concern, something I hadn't heard from my own family the day before. "I fell?" I lied automatically, the words Sarah had programmed into me. "Just clumsy, you know how it is." But Mrs. Chen wasn't buying it. She helped me into her car and drove straight to the emergency clinic, ignoring my weak protests. "Falls don't leave handprint bruises on your shoulders, Margaret," she said firmly. "I've seen enough in my 70 years to know the difference." At the clinic, I was seen by Dr. Rebecca Harrison, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and steady hands. She examined me with professional thoroughness, her expression growing more serious with each discovery. "Mrs. Thompson, you have 3 broken ribs, severe bruising consistent with blunt force trauma, and what appears to be a hairline fracture in your left wrist. These injuries are not consistent with a simple fall." I stuck to my story, even as she gently probed the tender spots where Sarah's hands had gripped my shoulders. "I'm just clumsy, doctor." Old Dr. Harrison sat back in her chair, studying me with those perceptive eyes. "Mrs. Thompson, I've been practicing medicine for 20 years. I know the difference between accident injuries and assault injuries. Someone did this to you deliberately. Who was it?" The kindness in her voice nearly broke me. For a moment, I wanted to tell her everything. About Sarah's cruelty, about Marcus's laughter, about feeling so utterly alone. But then I remembered Sarah's threat, saw Marcus's cold eyes in my mind, and shook my head. No one did anything to me. "What stairs?" Dr. Harrison asked quietly. "You live in a ground floor flat, Mrs. Thompson. I have your address from your medical records." Caught in my lie, I felt tears threatening. "Please, just fix me up and let me go home." But Dr. Harrison wasn't finished. She leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm a mandated reporter. When I see evidence of elder abuse, I'm legally required to report it. But more than that, I'm morally required to help you. You don't have to protect whoever did this. You don't understand." I whispered, the words stumbling out despite my best efforts. "If I say anything, I'll lose them completely." "Have you really not lost them already?" she asked softly. "Someone who loves you doesn't break your ribs and leave you to suffer alone." Her words hit like a physical blow because they were true. I had already lost them. Maybe I never really had them at all. Through my tears, I told her everything. About Sarah's escalating hostility, about the attack in the kitchen, about Marcus's laughter echoing in my ears as I lay broken on the floor. Dr. Harrison listened without judgment, taking notes and asking gentle questions. "Mrs. Thompson," she said when I finished, "what happened to you is not your fault. You didn't deserve this treatment. And you don't have to endure it in silence." She explained the reporting process, the resources available to me, the legal protections I could seek. For the first time in years, I felt like someone was truly on my side. "But what if they retaliate?" I asked. "What if Marcus never speaks to me again?" "With respect, Mrs. Thompson," Dr. Harrison said gently. "Is he really speaking to you now? Or is he just tolerating your presence while his wife abuses you?" The question hung in the air, and I realized she was right. I'd been clinging to the ghost of a relationship that had died long ago. Dr. Harrison filed her mandatory report that afternoon. Within hours, I received a call from Adult Protective Services. The investigator, Janet Mills, was a compassionate woman who specialized in elder abuse cases. She came to my flat that evening, documenting my injuries with photographs and taking my detailed statement. She explained that elder abuse was a serious crime, especially when it resulted in significant bodily harm. "Mrs. Thompson," she said, "you have options. You can pursue criminal charges, seek a restraining order, or both. You don't have to face this alone." For the first time in months, I felt a spark of something I'd almost forgotten: hope. The investigation moved quickly. Janet interviewed Mrs. Chen, who had witnessed my condition and heard suspicious sounds from the house before. She spoke with other neighbors who had noticed Sarah's hostile behavior toward me in public. Most importantly, she obtained security footage from a camera at the house across the street that had captured part of my stumbling exit from Marcus and Sarah's home, clearly showing my distressed state. When confronted with the evidence, neither Marcus nor Sarah denied the incident. Instead, they tried to minimize it, claiming I had been dramatic and exaggerating my injuries. But 3 broken ribs and medical documentation don't lie. The criminal charges were filed within 2 weeks. Sarah was charged with assault causing bodily harm to a vulnerable person, a serious offense that carried potential jail time. Marcus was charged as an accessory for failing to provide aid and for threatening behavior. The legal process was lengthy and emotionally draining, but I wasn't alone. Dr. Harrison connected me with a support group for elder abuse survivors, where I met other people who had faced similar betrayals from family members. I learned that what happened to me wasn't rare or unusual. Elder abuse is one of the most underreported crimes, often because victims are ashamed or afraid of losing family connections. But I also learned something else: family isn't defined by blood alone. It's defined by love, respect, and care. The people who had shown up for me, Mrs. Chen, Dr. Harrison, Janet Mills, my support group, they were more family to me than the son who had laughed at my pain. The trial took place 8 months later. I was nervous about testifying, but when I saw Sarah's smirk in the courtroom, the same expression she'd worn while standing over my broken body, I found my strength. I told my story clearly and completely. The medical evidence supported every word. Mrs. Chen testified about finding me injured. Dr. Harrison explained the extent of my injuries and why they couldn't have been accidental. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Sarah was found guilty and sentenced to 18 months in prison, plus community service and mandatory anger management. Marcus received probation and was ordered to attend counseling, though by then, I had no interest in rebuilding our relationship. Today, 3 years later, I've built a new life. I volunteer with Adult Protective Services, helping other elder abuse survivors navigate the system. I've made real friends through my support group and community activities. My health has improved dramatically since I'm no longer living under constant stress and intimidation. I sleep peacefully in my harbor, view flat, surrounded by people who genuinely care about my well-being. Marcus sent me a letter last year. A brief, awkward apology that felt more like a legal obligation than genuine remorse. I didn't respond. Some bridges once burned are better left as ashes. Sarah was released from prison 6 months ago. I heard through the grapevine that she and Marcus divorced while she was incarcerated. I felt no satisfaction in this news, only a distant sadness for the family that might have been. The Sunday that changed everything wasn't the Sunday Sarah broke my ribs. It was the Monday when I chose to tell the truth instead of protecting my abusers. That choice saved my life in every way that matters. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in my story, please know you deserve better. You deserve safety, respect, and genuine love. The people who truly care about you will support you in seeking help, not punish you for needing it. Family loyalty should never require you to accept abuse. Real love doesn't leave bruises, and real family doesn't abandon you when you're broken on the kitchen floor. You are worth protecting. You are worth fighting for. And you are never too old to start over. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is admit that the people who should love you have chosen to hurt you instead. And sometimes, walking away from toxic family is the first step toward finding your real family. The people who will lift you up instead of breaking you down.